All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's 12 noon here in Brooklyn, New York. It's a little bit of a rainy day, but we're excited to chat with you all today. I'm Sean Stewart. I'm the CEO of Newlab, the community that you can see behind me here in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And like most of us, we've had a pretty challenging year here in 2020. But one of the rays of sunshine for us was over the summer, we announced a partnership with Michigan Central and the Ford Motor Corporation to expand our community and our innovation studios to Detroit. And so we're excited today to talk to you about our growing focus on Michigan and bringing our community and our innovation studios to the region. And we wanted to walk you through today about the membership programs we offer, our community and how it's structured, and how you can participate or join our community in different programs and opportunities. For those of you new to Newlab, it's a growing community, a singular community of experts and innovators, technologists, entrepreneurs, and researchers, all focused on applying transformative technology to solve some of the world's biggest challenges. And those transformative technologies we speak of often fall into 8 major categories in the community here. We have a lot focusing on robotics and a lot of hardware kind of focused products, which you'll hear about today. We also have a lot of companies in material science, computer vision, AI, and machine learning, but also a lot growing in blockchain, additive manufacturing, and the rise of quantum computing and the impact on those accelerated processing powers. And so we're excited today to walk you through how our membership and our studios, our innovation studios that are expanding to the state of Michigan, bring together this community of entrepreneurs and engineers and innovators to work with industry leaders like Michigan Central and the Ford Motor Corporation to find long-standing solutions through advanced technology to their challenges or business opportunities. But let's start with the community itself. We've been here for just over 4 years, and the community has grown to just over 160 companies. We signed our 167th Newlab company yesterday, actually. And so that community is now over 800 entrepreneurs and technologists based right here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard in building 128 that you can see behind me. Over the course of these 4 years, over 1,700 companies have applied to be part of this community. We've reviewed those applications, met with founders and entrepreneurs, and ended up selecting the 160 plus that we just referenced. So the acceptance rate has always hovered somewhere around the 10% level. We've got over 110,000 square feet of operating space that we'll talk to you about today that our community utilizes day to day, which includes up to $7 million worth of prototyping equipment, wood shops, metal shops, 3D printing labs, electric benches, textiles, grow chambers, and hydroponic systems for the ag tech companies. A little bit of everything you need to develop early stage prototypes and develop technology in its infancy. But we also have to find them capital. So we've had 400 investors, VCs, corporate ventures, family offices, all come to Newlab to invest in this community of growing companies. And so we work as matchmakers, bringing together the appropriate investors with the right fit for their thesis. And those companies have raised just over 700 million in the course of the last 4 years, a growing value of the community of north of $2.6 billion over the past 4 years. So amazing progress. And these companies are based in 2 major buildings, our footprint here in New York. We have Newlab HQ that I'm calling you from today, which is 84,000 square feet of working space, event space, facilities, conference rooms. Then we have 77 Washington, which is about a 10-minute walk from here on Flushing Avenue. And that's used actually for companies that grow too big. One of the best reasons you exit this community is because we can no longer fit you. As your teams grow beyond 20, 30, 40, 50 people, we then move a lot of those companies to 77 Washington, where they take full floors to build their own culture and community as the companies continue to scale beyond the earlier level that they joined our community here. And then we continue to work with Michigan Central around a partnership to expand our footprint to the Corktown region in Detroit. And we're excited to keep you updated on the progress as we finalize that physical expansion plan. So what we're here to talk to you about today is the membership itself, the community that we've built, the benefits we provide, and the overall value we want you to know about that's available to entrepreneurs in the state of Michigan as we begin to expand our studios to that region. As we mentioned, we started with just 23 companies, about 100 entrepreneurs that were based here when we opened the doors of Newlab 4 years ago. It's now just north of 160, as we mentioned. And at the same time, the average valuations and what those companies have grown to be valued at has seen an incredible increase at the same time. When we opened, the average company was worth 7.6 million. Today, we're at about 17.5 million is the average valuation. And we've seen a range of acquisitions occur. just over $400 million in acquisitions that have been completed since we opened the doors. Jump being the most prominent, that was acquired by Uber, but a lot of other acquisitions completed that are worth note. And we'll walk you through some of those examples as well. But what we have built here, the community that operates and lives and breathes in this space as innovators on a daily basis, has become incredibly diverse and dynamic, which has been important as they support each other and collaborate. You'll see that 70% of the founders here have master's degrees or PhDs, which means that you can find experts in various different topics. You want someone who's got a PhD in fluid dynamics, we give you the tools to find those people, to work with them, to get support and advice on your product overall. They're serial entrepreneurs. In our last survey, 39% said they have started 3 or more companies. So they have amazing experience in starting from the ground up, building and scaling companies all the way through exit, which also helps that kind of 61% of our community that aren't serial entrepreneurs. You have other people in the community that you can benefit from, learn from their experiences and their kind of execution to date. And what's been positive for New York as a technology ecosystem and innovation ecosystem is that 38% of the companies based here have actually relocated from other parts of the country, or in many cases the world, to bring and scale their businesses specifically in New York City. Something we're very proud of as we help grow the Brooklyn tech ecosystem. And finally, we have now 23% of the founders and CEOs here at Newlab are female entrepreneurs, compared to just over 1.5% of venture capital that was deployed to CEO founders last year. So although this still has room to grow, it always does, we're proud of the momentum we've seen around supporting female entrepreneurs as they build and scale companies here in the US. But really what we're the most proud of when it comes to this community we've built is their ability to collaborate with each other. As examples, these communities have tools that we've built so that they can connect each other, find talent and insights that is stronger and helps them build and execute on their products. One of the most famous ones is Jump. Jump joined here as Social Bicycles just after we opened, with the focus on building a pedal assist electric bike. One of the early problems they found was that the bike lock itself would actually lose its charge and unlock when it wasn't ridden frequently enough. So if the bike was left out for a night, maybe that lock wouldn't retain the power it needed. And as a result, they looked for a solar array or a solar solution that could help power that lock even when the bike wasn't ridden on an hourly basis. So we ended up connecting Jump with Voltaic. Shane moved his company here from Sydney, Australia. Voltaic developed solar arrays to help develop power grids in difficult parts of Africa, all the way through to B2C products like backpacks that can charge your cell phone. And so Voltaic was able to customize and build a solar array that is now on every Jump bike that you ride that helps charge them and the power of the lock and resolve that problem that we experience. There's other examples as well, like Clip and 10x Beta. Clip develops an adaptive system to convert legacy bicycles into electric bicycles. And 10x Beta helped them with the design of the product and a range of the hardware components that ended up going directly to consumers. And so we're proud to build the ability for this community to work together, figure out how they can support each other, what areas of their product needs different types of expertise or experience. And what we do is use 4 major systems to try to connect these people overall. We do curated introductions where we actually bring our community manager, Haley, and her team, bring them to the members and ask them questions about what they're looking for, what talent they're missing, what expertise would be valuable, what their fundraising strategy is, whether they need access or support in government pilots or introductions to certain corporations. And then Haley and the team actually develop one-to-one introductions with the appropriate folks. With 900 people here, the reality is not everybody is perfect for your needs. Out of the 400 VCs we've worked with, not everyone is going to invest in your type of product or your ecosystem or industry. And so what we do is curate that down to a list of the right matchmaking so that we connect you with the right experts, the right investors, the right entrepreneurs to help ensure your company, your product, and your vision is more likely to succeed. We develop member-exclusive programming like what you're experiencing today here, all that range from classes to lectures from experts. You can learn today about how to manage your IP. Tomorrow might be a leader in the product industry talking about how to scale your product teams over time. And we also have built our own Newlab operating system, a community directory and resource engine that allows you to search all of the 900 entrepreneurs and technologists here, the companies, what they're working on, what their background is, what areas of expertise they have, so that you're able to do that and actually find out who in the community is the right person to connect to. Then you have the Slack channel that takes you from insight to actually connecting directly to those folks. So we have various different Slack channels across the community where you can jump on the job board if you were looking for a software engineer in a specific field, or jump on the supply chain channel if you have a problem with hardware coming out of Shenzhen and are considering shifting to Vietnam. They can all answer the questions for you in real time, provide the support you need as well. But it's not only this community, it's also our direct Newlab team. The Newlab team is a growing group of over 35 full-time employees here that support this community. And we each bring our own experiences, our own careers, and our own skill sets that can help these entrepreneurs overall. My background is more in business. I came from Google X, helped Google launch Waymo, the self-driving car company. Before that, I had a lot of time growing and scaling businesses in the travel industry like Airbnb and Expedia, JetSetter, and TripAdvisor. And so I serve as office hours where people can come ask about commercial strategy and different methods to take product to market, and then scale organizations as that grows. But I don't have experience in brand or marketing at the level that Lynn Fisher does, our CMO. So she's available for office hours to support the community as they develop marketing strategies, paid performance, brand, PR, design and creative, a range of different areas that every company needs and every entrepreneur needs support in as they grow. And you can see from this team, this ranges from Satish Rao, our Chief Product Officer, who comes from a more technical and scientific background to support people as they look at the technologies behind their products. Francesco Marconi joined us from the Wall Street Journal, where he was the head of AI and R&D for the Wall Street Journal, and now is one of the CEOs of one of the companies that came out of our venture studios, but also an incredible resource for the community when it comes to AI and data science. But on the flip side, you also need support often with government regulations and public policy. That's where Shana Horowitz comes into play, where she actually has a ton of experience from Bloomberg Associates of how to bring together public and private organizations to collaborate with entrepreneurs and find pathways to test technology in the public and the real streets, in the real environments that it's designed for. And this continues on through venture, where we have Hillary Howe as our venture partner, who brings a ton of experience on how to fundraise, develop strategies for fundraising, and how to execute and secure the right capital for your organization. Jarell on the operations side, and finally Boris on the prototyping side, who runs all of our labs and provides day-to-day counseling on how to build your prototypes using different machinery and equipment and strategies that we have here at Newlab. So then it comes to the studios, which is where we started. We announced in the summer an exciting partnership with Ford and Michigan Central in regards to two major studios that we're launching, or have actually launched, that will continue to expand and scale in Detroit and around the state of Michigan. The first is the Accessible Street Studio. It's focusing on how do we improve the transportation options and mobility solutions available to the residents of Detroit and its surrounding areas. But then there's also our Mobility Studio with Ford, which is more focused on Ford's corporate product initiatives, looking at shaping more of an electrified and connected and autonomous future in regards to the future fleets and vehicles that Ford will deploy. These studios, if you're new to innovation studios, go through really 5 major steps or cycles that is worth knowing about. The first is a kickoff, where we actually just launch and understand what the company's objectives are, the teams that will be involved, and really bring together the starting seeds of the studio team and workforce. Then we jump into research. We actually then understand, okay, these are the areas the studio wants to explore. Maybe it's looking at power charging systems and electrification. Maybe it's looking at autonomous vehicles or trucking solutions. And with that research, we start to understand what technology exists in the world, what startups are out there doing interesting things in adjacent fields or directly relevant fields. We launch RFPs to secure requests for proposals, essentially going to find academic groups, technologists, entrepreneurs who are interested in participating in the studio and the topics that we've designed. Then out of the large amount of RFP applications, sometimes the studio will get 200-300 different applications for participation. We have to whittle this down to the final team that's going to work in the studio. They're going to develop technology. They're going to build hardware and software. They're going to convene in those 3rd and 4th segments of the studio and eventually get to the final stage, which is launching that new technology, taking it out into the real world and testing to see if it achieves what it's designed for, and allows the corporate or government sponsor of the studio to see this technology at play, see if the promise of early technology and the products developed actually delivers in the way that it was designed for. And so it provides everybody in the studio ecosystem, from the entrepreneurs who get to test their IP, through to the technologists and the academic research groups who test their research. And then you have the corporate and government clients who get to access new technology, new products being developed that are at their infancy and early stage, and see if they actually hold true to the promise. We have many different studios operating every day. Some right here in Brooklyn, like the 5G studio, that is utilized a 5G network installed here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard and in the building itself, as well as a MEC for edge computing for the startups to access as they build and test how 5G can improve their product design and their architecture overall. But they're not all here in New York. We have a Beyond Play studio working on developing innovation around shelter for refugees in Uganda and the Naka Valley. We have a mining studio in partnership with Vimson, the iron ore mining company, that's deploying pilots of technology in Goa, in the iron ore mines there. And then last, we have the Circular City studio here in New York that's developed over the past 4 years urban tech solutions to improve the government's ability to access data and plan around urban planning decisions with much more information secured through a range of the technologies that we've piloted in that studio. But obviously, entrepreneurs need capital. And so we've continued to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem of over 400 sources of capital, whether they're VCs, family offices, corporate venture, that we understand and learn about their thesis, the type of companies they're interested in, the type of stage that's relevant to them, the technologies they're excited about, the industries they're excited about. And then what we do is we matchmake. We find out what you're building, what type of fundraising round you're completing, and we don't make you talk to 400 of them. We make you talk to 5 or 6 that are relevant to your thesis and your pitch, and where there's an alignment between what the fund is looking to invest in and what the entrepreneur is looking to raise. We also give them more than just capital, but try to lower the operational costs of our members when they're here at Newlab as well. We give a benefits package of over $100,000 in annual discounts on different services. And this is really just through the ability to negotiate as a combined community. Larger companies get better deals from UPS or Salesforce or Brex. And so what we're able to do is negotiate as a community. As 160 plus companies and 900 entrepreneurs, we're then able to get discounts for each company based here on a range of different products that's going to be important to them as they build and scale their company. Lastly, we have a range of different pitch and partnership sessions that provide value to these early stage entrepreneurs. The New York Angels come here every quarter to do pitch sessions where people can try to secure early stage funding. But one of the most prominent and exciting ones that is expanding to Michigan is our partnership with Google X, where the membership community here can apply to pitch the Google X team on why their technology, their product they're developing, the work they're doing could be a moonshot at Google X. And they look for support from the Alphabet entity, potential paths to investment or acquisition, but really it gives them a seat at the table, a private one-on-one session with the Google X technology team to see if what they're working on is relevant for Alphabet to support or learn more about. We're the only community in the world that actually is able to offer this. And so now we've kind of talked to you a little about the community we've built, the membership and ways we support the community. And now I'd love to just finish off with a little bit about the types of membership offerings we have, and also the application process. First, we have 4 types of membership. 3 that are offered to people around the world and here in New York, which are the flex memberships, the dedicated desks, and the private spaces. Flex memberships just means you can come here every single day. You can work in our common areas and common spaces. You can use the labs, access all the programming. The only thing you're missing is a dedicated space. You don't have your own desk. You don't have your own office. And as a result, it's a reduced cost for those entrepreneurs as they're starting to build and scale their organization. Then they can move to dedicated desks, which is where they want to pay for 1, 3, 5, 10 desks, which they can scale and contract as they see fit as their company goes up and down through the challenges of building a startup in this time. And then finally, they have private offices. You can actually expand into your own square footage within the community overall, allowing you to build your company in a confined space, but with still having access to all the shared resources here. With Michigan specifically, because we launched these 2 studios, we also offer remote membership, just like we do to the companies based in Uganda in our studio in the Naka Valley, or those piloting in Goa in the iron ore studio in India. Remote membership allows them to be based outside of New York, have access to all the programming and connections. They get into our operating system so that they can meet different entrepreneurs. They have access to the community team, so we'll matchmake you with everything from investment paths through to experts or board members that may be relevant. And so we're able to give them the entire Newlab experience without necessarily being based physically in this building. And so the remote membership gives you access to that entire community, curated introductions to experts and peers, access to that same exclusive programming we offer, but also the ability to pilot with enterprises, participate in our studios, and also participate in things like the Google X pitch that will happen later this month. So then the question being, all right, maybe you're interested in joining the community. There's obviously a key question, which is how do we look at the applicants and how do we decide who's appropriate for the community? With over 1,700 companies applying and just 167 being selected so far, seems like a pretty valid question to get more detail on. The first thing we look at is who they are, their track record, what they've built, what they've done in the past, what type of entrepreneur they are. We like to know more about the stage of the company. Are you seed, series A, B, C? How big is the organization? Where does it look to scale? And what resources are you looking for when it comes to space and facilities? We then dig deep into the technology. We love to know more about the technology being developed, how it's incremental to the community and additive, how it's cutting edge or pushing the envelope of what's possible, and what traction they've seen so far in the technology and the overall product viability. And then finally, we look at the social responsibility of it. Is it something we'd be proud to help grow? This comes up rarely, but occasionally people apply with products we're not necessarily thrilled about supporting or expanding. And also there are times when it's not a great community fit, where you might be directly competing with a company that's already here. We don't allow NDAs or blacked out offices as part of being in the community every day. We like people to collaborate. And we've actually designed the space so that it forces you to interact, to go to the bathroom, to get coffee, to enter and exit your offices. They all go through main thoroughfares so that we can force the ability for people to interact and connect with each other. And so if this is interesting to you, Haley's the community manager that runs all of our membership and community development. Her email's right there, and you can certainly feel free to reach out to her. I'm available at sean@newlab.com. The only tricky thing is it's S-H-A-U-N. And you can also go to our website at newlab.com/membership to learn more about our offerings overall. Lastly, before we jump into the Q&A and answer any questions you have, the next 3 events that we'd be excited for you to be aware of and participate in. We have our 5G studio explorations and outcomes. We're the 6 teams that developed and piloted technology here on our 5G network and our MEC are actually going to present out publicly what they tested and developed and what they learned about working on a 5G network in regards to their product design. Then on November 19th, we're jumping into moonshots, spin-outs, and new ventures, joining folks from Cornell Tech, as well as from Google X, on how they take ideas from their infancy and scale them into actual startups and ventures overall. And then the last one we mentioned is finalizing applications on November 16th is the ability to pitch Google X about your products and offerings to participate in those sessions. So if any of those are of interest, definitely reach out to us or check the website for applying to those. And so with that, I really appreciate the time to kind of introduce you to Newlab and our community and programs, as well as our initiatives in 2020 and beyond in Michigan. And we'd love to open the chat for any questions you have that I can help with. Hey, Siobhan.
Hey, so hi everyone, I'm Siobhan Edwards. I will be leading the Accessible Street Studio. Here's one of the questions from the Q&A. How are we different from an accelerator?
Yeah, it's a great question. We actually support accelerators and incubators. We have a landing pad programs with a lot of them that allow people to come out of accelerator and incubator programs and then be permanently based here. This is a 365-day community. You don't join for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks. There are definitely a range of great programs out there in incubators and accelerators that are worth looking at. We have Urban X in New York. We have teams from Y Combinator on the West Coast. And we love and continue to support the ability to bring those entrepreneurs out of those programs into a safe landing as part of our community. So what we're building here is very different to that, just because it's 365 days a year, support every day of the year, a permanent community of growing opportunities versus taking a few months of your life to go through a specific education program.
Okay, so I have another question here. Will it be possible to sign up for a physical membership in Michigan in the future?
Yeah, so we obviously would start selling physical memberships in the state of Michigan once we had a physical property there. Siobhan is based in Michigan, is actually our first exciting hire in the region. We have a beta space that we're going to be opening later next year. And then we'll be looking for a permanent home in the state and have been working closely with Michigan Central and the Corktown project to finalize that type of expansion. Up until now, then the entrepreneurs based in Michigan have the opportunity to join as remote members or flex members if they need more access to the buildings here in New York City. And those are probably the best membership types for them to consider.
Awesome. Okay, so here's another question. How are we keeping clients safe through the COVID-19 crisis? And can we elaborate a little bit more on safety protocol?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things we didn't go into in great detail was that we were never actually able to close down in the second quarter as the pandemic rised here in New York City. We've joined a partnership with 10x Beta, Voice Industries, and the New York EDC to quickly, rapidly prototype and develop 4,000 alternatives to ventilators to support New York City hospitals when they were predicting shortages of ventilators to keep COVID-impacted patients alive. As a result, we had to quickly figure out in April, how do you open this community or continue to operate in a pandemic and do it safely? So the first piece that happens every morning when I wake up is I open up my cell phone and I fill out a questionnaire on how I'm feeling, where I've traveled, whether I've been exposed to anyone with COVID-19. And then I get on my bike or subway or bus or whatever it is, and I come to Newlab. Then when I get to the front door, I walk through, and one of the companies here, Norbert Health, has designed a system, a sensor that's placed at the entrance of our buildings, and it provides a red or a green light if your temperature reading is above recommended levels for the CDC. We then have an EMT staff at the door. If your temperature level is above the CDC guidelines, we take you aside for secondary screening before entering the community. Then the next step is community members have the optional ability to wear a strong arm sensor. It's another product developed here by Newlab companies. And it's a haptic sensor that provides feedback and vibrations when you're not socially distancing appropriately. It also allows us to contact trace so that if one member of the community comes down with COVID-19, we can see who they talked to, how long they talked to them, what parts of the building they went into. For those who decline to wear sensors, we use the camera system throughout Newlab, which is a pretty intricate security system, to do contact tracing in the event that someone does come down with COVID-19. So far, we've had no members of the community test positive, but we run theoretical tests, picking a name out of a hat and running an experiment to see how we could quickly contact trace and quarantine potentially impacted members of the community. Then another challenge we had was bathroom occupancy. The CDC recommends you have no more than 3 people in a certain square footage of a bathroom, as it's a high contamination area. And we tagged another Newlab company to build a radar system that could display bathroom occupancies outside of bathrooms so that you didn't have to enter a room to then figure out how many people are in it. So we've done that and a range of other things to try to make sure we keep the community safe while they continue to work on such important technology developments.
Okay, here's another question. Do companies need to be full-time co-located with Newlab in Detroit in order to engage with Michigan Central and Ford?
No. First piece, certainly with our studios bring together entrepreneurs and technologists from around the world. That's not just Newlab members. That's certainly a key part of the studio offering, is that we go out and look at IP that's been filed, fundraising rounds completed, academic research papers. We look at all the technology being developed around the world, even if it's not specific to the industry or focus, and see if adjacent technologies are relevant. So studio participation does not require membership. Then in regards to physical, what we did with New York was we built those 3 membership tiers. You can have a flex membership, which means you don't have to be based here, but it means you have access to the community anytime you want it. We have flex members from Israel, for example, who do a lot of meetings and fundraising activity here in New York. So every time they come to New York, this is with their home. This is where they have their meetings. This is where they meet VCs. This is where they do product launches. We also have 300 acres around us of private land. So we have the East River, the buildings up and down. You have a road graph that looks like New York. And all of that is available to entrepreneurs to pilot their technology. We've deployed amphibious drones in the East River, solar-powered buoys. We've done robotic systems for pipe inspection under the buildings, rooftop farming applications. Even Foam recently developed an alternative to GPS location systems and has deployed it around the Navy Yard. Optimus Ride, one of our Newlab companies, is testing self-driving cars to transport people around the Navy Yard. So that asset is often valuable enough for people to join who may not be permanently in New York or 365 days in New York. It still becomes valuable overall.
Okay. The next question is, what do you think is the best advantage of being an entrepreneur in the Newlab community?
I think so. It's been a really interesting journey. The first 100 people and entrepreneurs that came here and were based here were attracted, if we're being honest, to the equipment. $5–6 million worth of prototyping equipment that an early stage entrepreneur doesn't want to pay for themselves. But if you look at the community today, 40% of our companies are software only. And what we've seen over 4 years is, although the labs and equipment remain incredibly valuable to hardware focused companies, actually what has grown in value to all the entrepreneurs here is the community. Every single day, you're surrounded by 900 people with expertise in quantum computing and biofabrication. People have spent their entire careers in AI and machine learning. And so the ability for them to come together and support you on your initiatives, to me, that's the #1 most valuable asset you get as an entrepreneur here, is a center of gravity that brings together all like-minded folks to support each other. We've built a community that actually likes collaborating and seeks to collaborate on their products. When I started as an entrepreneur, everything was stealth. You had to sign NDAs for me to tell you what I was working on. You black out your windows, you post something vague on LinkedIn, and people don't know what you're up to. The reality today is the companies that succeed are those that find the experts. Doing things in a silo hidden in your basement is not going to work out. Find the advisors, technologists, and experts who have done this before, who have attempted things that you're attempting before, who have seen the obstacles and learned about how to overcome them. And for us, we think that's the right way forward for entrepreneurs overall.
Okay, so the next question is kind of a 2-in-1. So how often do members get to pitch to Google X, and how frequently are you holding office hours?
Yeah, so the Google X pitches happen every quarter. They used to be physical. They used to come here every quarter, do a range of kind of presentations and class shops for the community. But it's been virtual this year for obvious reasons. And so there's one every quarter, which is great. We really tell the members here, wait till you're ready. If you feel like in the next 90 days, you're going to make more progress and would like to have that progress available before you talk to Google X, then you can wait, because it's just one more quarter and they'll be back again to run those sessions. On the office hours, so far, Hillary Howe, our venture partner, is probably the most oversubscribed regarding office hours requests, but the rest of us just make time. I have 2 hours on my calendar today that are open for members to sign up for office hours, come ask questions. So we typically always have the time and the ability to support them at the level needed. And if we don't have time today, we'll make time tonight or tomorrow.
The next question is, are there reduced rates for startups that only want to access learning and networking / mentorship, even if they already have the equipment / facilities that they need?
Yeah, they'd want to look at those too. If they're based in Michigan, then remote membership makes a lot of sense for them. That product line starts at $100 a month and is our lowest price point for Michigan-based entrepreneurs. And it gives them access to everything that's virtual and not anything physically located here in New York. But they still have access for guest passes if they do come to New York from time to time. Then a step up from that is the Flex membership. So those are the 2 lower price tiers that are worth exploring. And certainly if they reach out, we can connect them to Haley and explore those 2 membership types further.
Okay. This next question is, let's say you're in the middle of a membership term. Are you able to change that membership term in the middle of one, or switch which type of membership you want to use or sign
That's
up
a good
for?
question. Yeah, it's a really good question. So I'm on the board of 6 startups. I'd love to kind of support and get involved with the companies that I've met here at Newlab. Right now, 3 of the 6 that I'm involved with are being sued by landlords. They're not part of the Newlab ecosystem. They have office space in different parts of the country. Signing long-term leases right now is incredibly scary and concerning for entrepreneurs. A 5-year, 10-year lease. Some of them sign personal guarantors or put as personal guarantors or put down significant capital as deposits. And so what we've done on the Newlab side is try to build as much flexibility as possible. So we have 60-day exits on all of our membership types and the ability to flex up and down. You could start with 1 desk, then go to 3 desks, then suddenly you need 2, now 10, 8, 7, and Haley works with you to expand and contract as your business demands it. You could get into an office but find you no longer need it. You have an issue, your fundraising falls through. And so with just 60 days notice, they can change from one type to another, one membership category to another. And this has been crucial during COVID. We've had to provide the flexibility for these startups to flex and expand and scale as needed. During the pandemic, some of our member companies here, their demand has gone through the roof. Companies like StrongArm we mentioned with sensors for contact tracing obviously have seen increased demand. So we've had to quickly find and expand space for them, giving them another floor in one of our buildings, while other companies may be in the travel industry, which has been obviously significantly impacted, and their demand might have shrunk. So we have to give them the opportunity to go from 5,000 square feet, maybe down to 5 desks. And they may even say it's only going to be for 6 months, and after that, we're going to scale back up. And we provide the flexibility where needed.
Okay, that's a great question. The next question is, are there any 5G plans for the Michigan Central Newlab site?
Yeah, we're still certainly exploring. So our studio for Verizon ends at the end of this year, and we're right now in discussions with Verizon about their objectives for 2021 and how to expand and improve the studio execution. And Michigan and our partnership there will be a key aspect of that discussion. In the meantime, definitely look and apply in January for the next RFP for that studio. The 6 pilots that occurred here in the last 3 months on the 5G network, only 3 of them were New York-based Newlab members. The other 3 came from other parts of the world. Phantom Auto from California, Ghost Robotics. These weren't companies that were based here in Brooklyn. So even a Michigan entrepreneur has the ability to participate in the 5G studio here in New York.
Okay, next question. Can we give some examples of pilot opportunities that may be available through the innovation studios?
Yeah, that's a great example. A great question. So the studios, the innovation studios are literally focused on that end goal of pilot deployment. The entire participation in the studio is to get to the point of deploying a pilot that tests a new product, a new technology in a way that has been explored and designed through the innovation studio overall. So if you look at Prospect Mining, our studio in Goa and around iron ore mining, one of the focus areas for that corporation was early detection of cyanide leaks and different gas leaks in mining chambers that cause massive explosions and obviously have an impact on the mining employees that work in that environment. So that's led to the development of a sensor that can early detect cyanide leaks that is then going to be deployed in mine shafts in Goa to see if it actually can achieve the results that it is designed for. Closer to home here at the Navy Yard in our 5G studio, Phantom Auto from California tested whether they could teleoperate cars over a 5G network with greater security than operating on 4G. The concept of picking up an autonomous vehicle when it gets in a stuck situation and teleoperating it has been one that's been hotly debated over 4G networks because of the concern around the stability and latency of those networks. They're testing with 5G, can they actually improve that stability to give confidence in the technology? Ghost Robotics, on the other hand, was looking at their architecture. A large part of the weight on the dog itself, an amazing product if you want to Google Ghost Robotics, a large part of it is the compute that's actually put onto the dog itself. And so with 5G in that studio, what they were testing was could they alter their architecture to have a lot of the processing occur in the cloud? that the improved speeds from the 5G network on outdoor and indoor networks, could that redesign the product to provide greater light, more lightweight, also remove some potential areas of fault or failure, and also move a range of the non-core processing off of the dog itself. So that's the type of pilots that occur. We come up with a thesis or a strategy, an objective, and we find the technologists who are building companies and products that are relevant to that challenge. And then they go through the whole process to actually deploying a pilot to prove that what they've built can actually do what they say it can do. From that point, you have a corporation that's interested as a potential investor, as a licensor, as an acquirer. They may even invest and help you expand to their competitive set once they get part of it. So it's a low-cost model for corporate and government to pilot and access bleeding edge technology and some of the greatest minds out there in the world. And it also provides the benefit that an entrepreneur can test with the end user their technology with greater resources, greater access to pilots, like being actually able to do it in the public in New York. We help negotiate all of the red tape necessary to deploy that technology, whether on private or public land.
Awesome. So it looks like we are out of questions.
Okay. Well, with that, we'd love to thank you all for joining. We saw a significant amount of inbound interest in this and one of our more subscribed membership events. So thank you to everyone in the state of Michigan for joining. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us in the different emails provided today. And good luck, and we'll see you soon.